Good evening. It is Saturday night. It is just gone 8 o'clock. We are here once again to do more Doctor Who. With us tonight, obviously, is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Yeah, we are here tonight to do Claws of Axos. And it's going to be. We're going to have fun with this one, I think. Not that we don't have fun anyway, but this one is one Um, I think we could potentially take the mick out of.
I'm not sure if I remember it or not. I was speaking to Lucosi
Mhm.
yesterday, and he's told me that he considers it possibly Pertwee's worst. And he said if you haven't seen it before, you've definitely seen clips from it. So we will see.
Well, I'll say this for Claws of Axos. You know how last week we were talking about Timothy Coombs, the director for Mind of Evil, and he
Yes.
overspent on the show, and obviously he was not invited back to do Doctor Who ever again. But what he'd left us with was a show that had incredibly high production values.
Yeah.
That's not this.
Ah.
You wish it was, but it's not. Look, in terms of having a memorable villain, Claws of Axos has a brilliant villain. It genuinely the Axons are, as far as I'm concerned, the Axons are to Doctor Who what the Borg are to the Next Generation. They are, I know people like to align the Cybermen with the Borg because they've made that mental connection of it's a robot with a person inside, it's a robot with a person inside. Clearly, they're the same. Whereas to me, I would say the Axons are, because these things are impossible to kill, and they adapt, and they can change, and they can grow, and they can, if the smallest fragment of an axon still exists, you've got an axon and you've got a problem. Whereas, I just find that the similarities between uh, something like the Cybermen and the Borg is just purely superficial, whereas these things are unstoppable. And it's just a shame that they have been brought back because Ur is a villain that definitely deserves to be brought back, and to be done well as well. That's what they really deserve. Um,
Isn't this their only story they're in?
yeah, yeah. There's not another Axon story at all. They get mentioned by the 10th Doctor, but yeah, they never brought back, and it's incredibly sad because they're a high concept villain as well. They're very high concept sci-fi. They are a single cellular creature. So they not single cellular. I mean, every cell is connected. Then, so it's again, it's like the Borg, where you got the hive mind with the Borg. There's only one axon. It's all every single axon in this is just one axon. They're all connected. Same with the
Oh,
ship.
so it's also a little bit like the replicators in SG1 then,
Yeah,
as well.
they're all part of one living entity. And the ship has grown. All the technology has grown. It's just, it's such a high concept that they could be done so well these days. Particularly when you see like, they look like roots in the sort of naked form, I guess. And they really are a brilliant villain as far as I'm concerned. These things would be. I mean, if I was going to do a Doctor Who series, I'd say, look, I was going to. If I was backed into a corner and said, you've got to make a series villain, then I'm going to do an alien invasion story with the Axons, and they're going to be the entire season. Because they are that hard to get rid of. I'm not underselling this at all. They really are. Um, they really are hard. They make the Daleks look like chumps. Um, they that's what's good about these villains. Really, that's what's good about this story, is the fact that it it falls down based on the fact that it's not executed well, and it falls down a lot, I guess, on the editing. Like the editing in this is atrocious. It's really bad stuff, and this episode deserves to be re-edited more than anything else. Don't give a toss about remastering it. Re-edit it. Give it to somebody who knows what they're doing. Because it's a disheveled mess. It's literally, it pops around from one thing to the next. It's so loose, and you're just like, whoa, I'm gonna get a bleeding nose from this thing jumping in and out on me all the time. That's the biggest villain of this story is the editor. So
there's no getting away from him.
Yeah. Oh no, I tell you straight. When you start watching this, I'll guarantee you, it's like being punched in the face. It's you're in one spot and they're telling one part of the story, and then it immediately cuts to another spot and another part of the story, something completely different. And then as it's about to do something which progresses a little, bang, it cuts away to something else, and it's constantly cut in all the time, and it's just a mess. And I don't know who edited this. I have no idea, but whoever it is, they need to be fired. And I'm assuming that they have been. Lucosa, absolutely agree with the editing. The story is horrendous. It's in the story is horrendous. It's the worst thing about it. I would say
Bob Reimer is who we're playing, Colin. Film editor Bob Reimer.
There we are.
Just in case you missed that, Bob Reimer.
It's horrible. Because here's the thing, right? I think that, in terms of how the story plays out, I think it could have been fixed with a good ending. And I think that's where this really falls down. Is that, how, let's think of an episode. Power of Three, the episode Power of Three, with Matt Smith. Whereby it's kind of fixed by him waving his sonic screwdriver at the screen. It's sort of... this floats into that territory. It's got some nice stuff in it with the Master. In fact, I would have said this is a great outing for the Master. In that, he shows a little bit more of his science then. He shows a little bit more of his intellect. In what he's capable of doing. Is this a great outing? This is not a great outing for Joe. This is Joe Grant being damsel in distress.
Yeah. The screamer.
Yeah, it's your sci-fi leading lady, getting abducted by monsters. It doesn't do her any favors. I'm not really sure it does the Doctor any favours in this, really. He's a bit forceful. Again, it's a story that's made up mainly of the secondary characters, and the Doctor is injecting into the story. So it's a format that we've seen, and is it done? I don't know if it's done right. I don't know if you really would put the Doctor into that situation in the way that they put him in. Because I personally, I think he's a bit forceful. He's not really observing unit. He's more directing unit. And I think I think it works better for the Brigadier. But also as well, we got this new character coming into it. This American guy, who is more of this James Bond-esque type character, and he's there to basically take on the Master, and it doesn't really jive well with the rest of the story. So, and he's a likable character. He's not quite your sort of Captain Jack, but he's likable enough that you would. I mean, could they have done something else with him? I suppose so.
Is he another one and done character just for this episode?
Yeah, I don't think he comes back.
It doesn't ring a bell with me.
Yeah, Filer. Yeah, he's this great American character played by a bloke from Mid Glamorgan.
There's hope for you yet, mate. There's hope for you yet.
I mean, that's that's really what I've got to say. This is a story that could have gone well, that could have had a really good outing, and we could be talking about this in terms of it being one of the best episodes of Doctor Who. It's got a very memorable villain. I'll say that the villain, when we were talking about Mind of Evil last week and not really being able to remember, sort of what this villain looks like, what it is, because it was just a box on a floor. These have got more memorable villains, but it's such a forgettable story. And again, these villains are such a good concept. You could really do something with them. Like, it's so simple. These things are just unstoppable. There we go. There's your story. These things are going to invade, and you can't do a damn thing about it. And
it is a shame when these people write a really good antagonist, and they're full of really good concepts and good ideas, and they get the script and say, "Yeah, sod that, we don't need it."
Yeah. Well, again, like if we're talking about when they do Classic Who and they've handed out, this is going to be 7 episodes, this is going to be 6 episodes, this is going to be 4. This one deserves a 6 because there's so much to get through and there's so much to deal with. It's such a good idea that to only shorten it down to 4 episodes means that you are left with things being a little bit hokey, things being a little bit repetitive, things being wound up really quickly. And again, the way the episode ends, I've got to say, but when we get to the final episode, you'll see it yourself. It'll be like we've spent 4 episodes on this, and it winds up in the last 30 seconds. And it's like, you shouldn't really. It's literally flipped the switch to save the day. That sort of storytelling, and you can't do that in sci-fi. You really need. Again, what we had with Mind of Evil was a much better production value wise. It was shockingly good. To sit back and watch Mind of Evil again after 50 years and to see how well that holds up due to its production levels. And what you're going to see this week is a bit Blue Peter. I think that's the best way to get. This is Doctor Who made by Blue Peter.
Alright, so there's going to be a lot of sticky back plastic then, as they like to call it.
It's just, well, I think if you were gonna look at what when they're talking about putting things on Blu-ray and upgrading it and doing all the special edition, this one doesn't need it. This one doesn't deserve it. It doesn't. It's. I don't want to crap on it because obviously they had to film this on location. They filmed this in, I think it was Dungeness, I think. So they had to film this sort of mobile wise, make it work with whatever they had. They had to do several rewrites on this, live rewrites as well. So which means that they were actually writing parts of the script while the actors were standing around on set. So this had problems, and I think when you watch it, I think it'll become obvious where the problems are. I don't think you'll be surprised at all. Is there anything I can mention about this before we make a start? No, not really. Aside from the fact that the obvious one is the obviously Claws of Axos rewrite, which was that this thing was supposed to be set in the summer, and when they began filming down in Dungeness, they had a freak snowstorm, and they just worked it into the script. They literally just worked into the script that the Axons had caused a disruption in the weather system that had caused it to snow, and it's become a famous thing where in Doctor Who, whereby if you have to adapt to the circumstances, it's generally called a Claws of Axos rewrite.
All right, okay, well, fair enough.
That's basically
At least I know
what.
where that comes from now.
Yeah, that's basically all it is the fact that when you have to adapt an uncontrollable element into the story, that's what they call it. When something happens that you cannot control and you have to adapt to it, that's what it is. So that's basically it. I have very little to add. Anything you want to say before we make a start?
No, not really. I'm just pleased that good or bad, we're getting to see the first series with Roger Delgado in it playing the Master, and that
Hmm.
makes up for a lot of the shortcomings that do happen.
Um, I mean, I love Delgado as the master. He is my master. He is, I surrender to him. He is the one.
He is the definitive article.
The thing is, right? I wanna put this into context for people that might be watching this. I did not grow up with Delgado as the master. Obviously during the era that I grew up in, Anthony Ainley was the master,
Yeah, same here.
and he was the first master I ever saw. And I would say probably even up to the point whereby I probably saw Eric Roberts as the master following Anthony Ainley, and kind of was putting these two into sort of the master territory before I really saw Delgado as the master. So my influence is not based upon it's a first come first served kind of situation. Mine is based on in much the same way that my favourite Doctor being Patrick Troughton is not based upon me seeing him first, because clearly not. I saw plenty of other Doctors first. It's just the fact that that's the one I gravitate to. And it's the same with Roger Delgado as the master. He kills it. He is the gentleman killer, and he works perfectly. I think it's because he does work so well with Pertwee.
Yeah, and he plays not having a shred of conscience so well.
Oh yeah, cold calculating, killing, just he no thought. Everything is beneath him. Everything is a lower life form compared to him, and that's the way he looks there. And yeah, brilliant. First incarnation of the Master I saw was Peter Pratt, who terrified me as a 4-year-old. Yeah, I mean we tend to forget about these. The corpse version. I don't know what you call it, decrepit versions, corpse version. What do you call them? Because you've got
The in-betweener.
well, I mean, we've got Deadly Assassin version, and obviously Keeper of Traken version as well. So yeah, I don't know what you'd call them. Decrepit versions. Uh, I don't think, and obviously, we're talking about the master here. Uh, I don't know if you've actually listened to it finally, but the return of Eric Roberts as the master as well is out there as well. So we have more than just one iteration of Eric Roberts as the master, which is a nice thing actually, because it was nice for him to actually get a script that was a little bit better than Pooh. So he actually had some sort of idea of what the hell he was doing this time.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough because the people that made the '96 movie didn't know what they were doing anyway.
No, the thing is, I've actually chatted with Peter Segal, who was the producer of the '96 movie. So he actually there's things that he did on the '96 movie that there's things that he wanted to do that they couldn't let him do. So it wasn't a case of he didn't know. He's actually a big fan of Doctor Who. It's just the fact that he was trying to convince the studio to back a deal, and the studios that were going to pay for it wanted it for an American audience. And so there were certain things that they put into the story or they wanted to put into the story so that it can be sold. Because you've got to remember that this was done. The '96 movie was done between two studios and the BBC as well. So it was a mess, but it's not. It's not because he really wanted the Daleks to be in it, and they wouldn't let him. So, because obviously you had to go through the Dalek estate to put the Daleks into something. So it was just like, you can't have the Daleks. We're gonna have to go with something else, and that's why
God,
you.
what a terrifying neighbourhood that must be. Where are we going? Am I just going to drive through the Dalek estate? Are you
Yeah,
mental?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's a whole other story there, and maybe I can have it actually get him on camera, and we'll have a bit of a chat, maybe, and talk about it. Maybe that might be interesting. If we could
Yeah.
possibly get him to jump in, and we might actually have a little bit of a good chat about the movie. Anyway, that's for something else. Oh, I should mention something as well. Next week, following Close of Access, supposed to be Colony in Space. That'll be the week after, because next week I might not be here.
Yeah, I might not be here next week either because I'm
Yeah.
having a COVID jab on
Yeah.
on Friday, so I might be pear-shaped on Saturday.
Oh, I had mine on Wednesday. I had mine on Wednesday, and I had the Pfizer jab, and Thursday and Friday it wiped me out. Totally wiped me out. I think I posted on Facebook earlier, I slept for like 12 hours yesterday. I just couldn't get up. I mean, I went to work the night before, and I was like, I can't be bothered to do anything. And then I got home, and I was like, I need to lie down. I need to go to sleep. And I lay down, and I got up, and it was night time. And that was the end of it. It just totally wiped me out. But I'm feeling better today, though. So, but I have got extra strong coffee with me as well. So anyway, so yeah, I might not be here next week because my son is coming down for a visit, and I haven't seen him since Christmas. So due to everything being locked down and borders being closed and whatnot. So
Oh, that's fair enough, mate. I don't blame you at all.
so we're gonna have a weekend together, having a lads weekend. So anyway. I'm getting set up to play Claws of Axos Part 1.
I am at 0000000 on part 1.
Excellent. Then I shall hit play. Hang a sec. In. As soon as it allows me to. Oh, it's doing that little advert thing. I'm going to be pressing play in 3, 2, 1. Launch!
I've got coloured ink as well. You expecting me to go ooey oo?
There we are.
I can't get that eye anymore. Not without a special clamp.
And a certain amount of electrical power.
Yeah. Episode 1.
Here we go. I'm going to go take a look at the full cast and crew here as well. Directed by Michael Ferguson.
Yeah, seeing that going across the sky there, how's your model rocket going that you started?
It's getting there. I've had to integrate some. I'm basically waiting for some rubber hose to arrive because I want to integrate actual smoke into it. But yeah, no, it's getting there. And if you don't know what that is,
good.
I'm redoing the Ambassadors of Death takeoff sequence. I should mention as well, by the way, actually, what we're going to see in this as well is the first showing, really, of Tim Pickett-Smith.
Ah.
See, I don't mind the design of the Axon spaceship. It kind of reminds me of Gumto from Star Trek The Next Generation, from, what's it called? What's the episode?
Tin Man?
Tin Man. Now there's a shoot in the foot to Chibnall's writing.
Yeah. If there's one thing the BBC could do really well, well, they still do it really now, is produce a pompous politician type.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ones that go, give it all that.
Well, I like the character of Mr. Chin because he's very much he's the in between man, and he always tells people what people have already told him. You know.
So if I say something, you won't be able to unsee it. But them two there arguing, kind of Mickey Dolenz versus Ronnie Barker.
Yeah, look, Mr. Chin's Rory Barker. Yes, I did totally see that. Do you know, I find the character of Filer to look reminds me a lot for some reason of Roy Kinnear. I don't know why. He's like a slimmed down version of Roy Kinnear. Just get rid of him. Get rid of him. The last thing you need when dealing with an alien situation is bureaucrats.
Yeah. Or in fact, most situations.
I mean, I think that's what the one thing that this series or Pertwee's era of Doctor Who does is to actually show what an Earth or a British government response would be. And here we go. One of my least favourite segments of this episode. It's a bit Monty Python-esque. Ian's just joined us. Says hello. Hope you're all well. I like the story. One of the best, I think. No, I disagree.
I'm on the fence, Ian. Evening, mate.
Did Roy Kinnear ever appear in Doctor Who? I remember him in Blake 7 episode Goldust, but I don't remember him seeing him. Oh, I don't think so. No. I mean, you can tell like what era this is in, thanks to Filer's hairdo.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else got a pretty like normal, like Nicholas Courtney could be today. It wouldn't make a difference. You see Filer,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
Filer's like an extra from Yes Sir, isn't he?
There she is, Stanley Baxter. I really hate this part. I don't know why. It just cringes me. You see, I think maybe it's in part some of the sounds he's making as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Bloody hell, I was just looking up Roy Kinnear. I didn't realise how long ago it was he died.
yeah,
98. I was sure it was more recent than that. You know,
yeah. No,
so closer to 2000.
it was during the making of Three Musketeers, wasn't he? He fell off a horse.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah. No then. Has Rory Kinnear been in Doctor Who? No. He looks a lot like his old man as well. Oh, sorry, Ian, for my reasons, it's got unit, it's got the master, good master, a clever idea with aliens pretending to be friendly, and it's only 4 parts. Yeah, no, we talked about the villains earlier. There's nothing wrong with the villains in terms of structure, in terms of motivation, in terms of what they are, what they do. Uh, I said earlier that they could come back. They should come back. They would be dominating. It's just the way it's handled. Like, what's with these weird effects? He's one step
Well, they
away.
clearly needed someone to fall in a pond.
Yeah, well, he's one step away from being smacked with a giant fish. How big is that power station? The entire British power supply. I mean, yeah, so that sort of dialogue does lend to the character's pomposity, mind.
Yeah, it does.
Being sort of over dramatic about stuff. It's difficult to look at Philo without looking at his head, alright? Like, what is this guy doing?
They're trying to make him seem more rustic by saying "OR" a few times. OR.
To me, it's so Monty Python-esque. Just expecting a giant foot to come down.
Oh, there he's turned into Roy Orbison.
Yes, it's not.
So I was just seeing what Ian just put. That was all.
Yeah, this is Filer's only appearance as well in Doctor Who. I think this episode's got a lot of likable stuff in it. It's just, I think the way it's put together is just... It's miles apart from where it was last week with Mind of Evil.
Yeah, it has potential, but they've.
Oh, like I said, a re-edit of this could do this wonders. Like, wonders. Like, what was that then? Did you notice that? That quick insert of the Doctor just staring at a screen? It just cut to it for no reason. It was there on screen for like a second. Like, it's just cut into people for no reason. The only person talking there was the Doctor. He just cut to everybody in the room.
Would have been all right if they were actually like giving off some
If they were reacting.
reaction. Yeah.
But no, it's just cut in, and it's just cut into different things. What do you mean the editing, or? Yeah, but I believe that this was all shot on location in Dungeness. All in and around the MOD and power station.
I have to say, for the time, that actual kind of big sphinctral door opening up isn't actually too bad. I mean, it's not brilliant, but I've seen a lot worse.
I think it degrades. I think that, you know, some of the things that have been done are pretty good, but it you know, later on you're going to see like curtains being painted to look like doors. And there's probably other things they could have done instead. The set becomes
She's not
very
going to stay there
pantomime.
at all, is she?
No. Oh. See, it's these weird fade outs. What the hell is this? Like, what is that? What is that about?
Perhaps it was the Watcher turned up 10 years too early.
So, they're trying to illustrate the fact that it's a biological entity, this ship. And
Yeah.
for the most part, I would say it's reasonably successful.
But not necessarily the painted curtains.
No. I would say the choices of colour as well probably don't help. I would have said that the more reddish tones work better than the yellow. But, you know, it's supposed to be an alien ship, so I can let that slide. By the way, I find it weird that it's crashed arse first into the ground, by the way. Because that's supposed to be the front of the ship. So it backed into the planet. See, I think that looks fairly successful. I know there's a bit of CSO going over there, but as for being weird alien tech, I think that works.
Yeah.
Now we get into almost sort of Batman 66 technology. You know, with Robin being trapped by a giant clam.
The best Batman.
I'm going to start doing Batman from episode 1. I'm going to do High Diddle Riddle right the way through to the final episode. See, good character designs. They're just off balance, just enough to look freaky.
Yeah.
You know, as they say, it's got the uncanny valley element.
Yeah, it has. Them eyes are all sorts of wrong, aren't they? Also, I'm not sure about them being dressed in the curtains either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Tights were a new thing. I mean, you know, they were in lycra. You know what I mean? It was a new material. They were using it for everything.
Yeah, it's not a terrible set they're in there either.
No, look, it's ups and downs. See, I like the fact that the Doctor's already onto them.
Yeah.
He's already pulling up questions that the others aren't even thinking about.
Yeah. If that's so good, why are you running out of power?
Yeah. That prop to me that doesn't work for me though, because it's supposed to be biological. So why would you have a technological? I can see the CSO going pear shaped. That's what I can see.
Yeah.
You're telling me like that was the best take they could get out of the Toad? Unlimited power. That's the end of episode 1. A bunch of roots. So it's dashed through the first episode. It's been a little bit all over the place, but it's not bad yet. It's not great, but it's not.
No, it's just fairly standard run of the mill at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, what do you think so far?
So far, it's not too bad. I mean, it's some of the visual effects are a little bit creaky, but I've seen worse. I don't know. Give me another episode.
No, we're going to start the next episode.
So far, it's the story's intriguing me anyway.
I'm about to say no. Because, yeah, obviously I'm doing this on BritBox, and BritBox has a little BritBox advert in between, I'm afraid.
All right, well, I've got John Pertwee's face
I know.
now,
Yeah.
and the logo's coming up now.
Yeah. By Bob Barker and Dave Martin.
I've lost count of the amount of Dave Martins I've met in my life. It's a lot.
The music's not too bad in this either as well. The music's pretty good.
Well, it's Dudley Simpson's sci-fi synth, isn't it, really?
Yeah. It's sort of synth harpsichord.
Yeah.
So originally the Axonite demonstration was going to be with a rat instead of a toad. Why they changed that, I don't know.
Perhaps the toad had a bit of union. And the rat didn't have a very good agent, I don't know.
Didn't work well on the CSO, did it?
No, plus rats do. I can see why rats do tend to move about and be inquisitive, whereas under pressure, frogs and toads just kind of sit there, don't they? And they just jump if they have to.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the doctor's already on the way. He's not slacking. My foot. Now kneecap him first. That way he can't run away. You gotta love BBC technology. When the noise is so bad it interferes with the picture. Those are the days.
Escape through the elastic curtains.
Yep. Vaccinated is so powerful when they use giant frogs to invade. And this is what makes Chin a good middleman, is that everything that he's just been told now gets handed down to other people from him. You know, he doesn't come up with his own ideas. He doesn't. He's always got to have the back and forth. He's always got to defer it to somebody.
I'm just glad he said it's your neck on the line, not mine, rather than it's my arse on the line and I don't want to cock
Yeah.
up. because that's just wrong. There's a bit of a synthesized trombone there, wasn't it, for that?
Yeah, the eyeballs on the Axons are really, they're a bit freaky, aren't they?
Yeah.
But that's not good.
Yeah, it's same sort of freaky face as we got of the woman in the image of Fendal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that when the eyes are wrong, that sets off the whole kind of thing when you're looking at something else.
And that green.
Yeah, I'm
Why?
not sure about that though.
Why do it? They've done it several times now. I don't know what it's supposed to be signifying. Aside from a loss of signal from the camera, I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be. No, I do like Chin as a middleman because again, he doesn't come up with any of his own ideas. He's told what to do and he passes it on to other people. He's very much a middleman, pass the buck.
So Luke Hoser was right on that score.
There it is. Of course, the next time we see Tim Pickett Smith in Doctor Who is in Mask of Mandragora.
Right, I understand them cutting to Bill Filer there, but not just for that.
I know. Yeah.
You know, really, that should have gone on from that and played a bit out, then come back to this afterwards.
It's
but
not only that, it jumps around. The editing just jumps about so much.
well, it's got to a point in this episode. If the Doctor says Brigadier, we're going to get a shot of Nicholas Courtney.
Yeah.
And if he says Benton, we're going to get a shot of Benton. You know, it's just going to be.
It's jumping around the scenes as well. You know, it's. Like, what was that? If you're going to show us the duplication of Filer, then stay with that scene. Stop cutting back and forth. It really feels to me like they're able to VT cut, and the editors like discovered this new tool, this new toy, and is just using it.
Yeah.
Like, now we're back to this. Had some buffering there. What was I read about? This doesn't happen often. About Chris's, whether or not he had seen this episode or not.
Yeah, you said yesterday you wondered if I'd seen the episode or not, and I haven't, but I've definitely seen some stills from it.
See, like shots like this white matte shot works perfectly well, and I love this set. I really do think this accelerator set is brilliantly put together.
Yeah.
So again, this was an episode whereby the colour master tape was lost. So they only had the 16mm black and white. So they had...
Right, yeah, I mean, I've got the NTSC coloured ones, I think, because of the way
yeah.
There's a lot of bleeding around the edges of the people.
So the NTSC colour tape was recovered from Canada, apparently. So that's how they were able to recolour it. I'm not sure what you're supposed to make of this scientist. As a character, I don't even know if there's any reason to have him in the story. I don't think he's there for anything in particular. I don't think he makes any particular contribution to the story.
Imagine being a suave agent like Filer and you've been caught by a prawn.
I mean, he's an interesting character to bring into Doctor Who. He's a foreign UN associate, basically a secret agent. He's See, I don't know what this guy's supposed to be contributing to the story.
No, smug twat one. I mean, that's all he's done so far.
It's not like he's... It's not like he's bringing up anything that's... or putting a roadblock in front of the Doctor. And it's not really revealing anything about the Axonite that we don't already know.
Cut stalk would have been better with a bit of weathering on the green part of it at the back.
It does remind me of the Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah.
The open eyeball.
Yep. Only the Tesco value version.
What were they? 15 years early?
Yeah. World's best guard there.
Yeah. Nothing's getting by him. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. Just been cooked in the face.
Can't be a good power.
God alive. I realise he's an actor, like, but had that been water, you'd have been a clean belly flop.
Didn't even fall with style.
He tried. Yeah, I don't know what his role is, aside from wasting time. I mean, I suppose you could argue that his position there was that they've got a laboratory, and therefore a laboratory must come with a scientist. But
Yeah. Havoc earning their pay again there.
yeah, yes, I will, sir. I will obey you. Both fingers up the nose. I think this is quite a good scene.
Don't know. I think there's a bit too much sideburn going on there.
More lamb chops than a
double,
cavalry.
double, yeah, double filer. It is well done though,
Yeah,
for the time, and because they're not using, blue screen, green screen, CSO, or whatever. It's
yeah. There's no splits. It's all done with camera angle. See, they've got an action man now with Filer, and it's not a bad character.
saying that. Master looks like he's got an action man as well. Right? It's behind him doing his eagle eyes.
Cloned. Kind of like Independence Day.
Yeah. These people never learn, do they?
No. I mean, if you were bugged the room, why would you take the bug? Why would you show the people that you've been bugging the room? And then you're going to keep them in the same room.
The trouble is, every time the master hypnotises someone, their eyes glide out. I just think of Father Dougal Maguire.
Again, Pertwee's props.
It's a big prop he's got there this time.
He gets to use the room. Watch, clipboard, pen, lock, microphone, switch, computer, click switches. Plays the room.
He's the bit that makes it believable.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Look, I wish more actors would actually have a bit more thought as to what they're doing in the scene. He's really committed because he's literally doing stuff. He's doing business. You can see how wobbly the wall is when the buckets are swinging.
Yeah.
Oh dear. It's unfortunate.
Axonite for hands that do dishy.
Yeah. Fade out again. I mean, the Axon costume itself doesn't look too bad. But
Not sure about the crawling sheet.
Yeah, the guy stuck in a tent is not going to work. But that's the end of episode 2. What do you think so far, Chris?
It's got a bit silly in it.
Well, I mean, you've got a good convincing performance on a Pertwee. Pertwee's kind of holding this together. Again, the editing's all over the place. It's jumping from scene, jumping from shot to shot, just sort of skipping around. Oh, here we go. We've got BritBox advert first. Presented by
So let me know when you're ready.
And now, yeah, what I would say is it's a shame because a fresh edit of this would be just cut out all the crap and put everything into a narrative order. As you said earlier, you know, when the Doctor's talking to the Brigadier and it cuts to Filer instead. It's just confusing. Seriously,
Run
it's
away
not.
from the killer blanket.
Yeah, I wish it was a bigger set. But the actual design itself, I actually like.
Yeah, no, the set's pretty good. But this really is into the realms of men in rubber suits. I mean, although they look good with all the tendrils on them.
And then back to the Lycra. And there we go. It's kind of good how the Axons are spinning it into, sort of spinning what happened into their own narrative then.
Yeah.
And they've convinced the people in charge that, well, it comes down to greed, doesn't it? I'm sure this has been mentioned before, but let's not forget, if you spray an Axon green, you get a Crynod. Yeah, I dare say they probably reused a few costumes. But again, I think they could do a really good job these days. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Crinoids were just a reuse of the costume. They've even got a similar sort of thing. Yeah, it was the same costume, but it was pretty well made, so why not? Yeah. That's to take it on the chin. Again, it's just sci-fi stuff for sci-fi reasons now. It's just going into bizarre territory.
Another pompous toff.
This should have been a phone call. So it should have been...
Yeah, but when you can have video calls...
It's...
I know why. I'm doing it from their point of view.
It's just... again, it's sci-fi for the sake of sci-fi. Or, if effectively, Chin should have been leaving or going to an office. And this part's terrible. With Filer. Exposition. Must tell story. Must further the plot. Axon's going to be activated in Axonite. 5 o'clock tomorrow. And they keep cutting back to that as well. It's not like he just has this one incident. Filer keeps doing it. I bet he was warming up. Rubber mask, hat, coat, with a suit underneath.
A certain level of embarrassment.
The Doctor does the same sleep talking Inferno though. Not as much. Nowhere near as much. And it's close exposition as well. He's Filer only ever says. Here we go. Last scene walking down the street. Ah, these flashes do my nothing. There's a lot of stuff thrown in here just for the sake of doing it.
It's been a while since we've played the TARDIS, isn't it?
Yeah. A massive amount of time. But again, I like this little scene here because it does show the intelligence of the Master when he's looking at that mess and going, I can rebuild this. Like, he can rebuild it and make it work. The Doctor can't do that. I mean, epileptics just aren't going to enjoy this at all. It's just not pleasant.
No, mind you, when this come out, I don't think they really had that much thought into photosensitivity and that.
They had no thought into it at all, really. It was just like, do what was ever funky.
Yeah.
Favourite scene in this episode is the Master being horrified at the state of the Doctor's TARDIS. Yeah, I mean, goes towards, like, what the Master... Both the Doctor and the Master get elevated by each other. And... I always like the villain being a little bit more intelligent than the hero. So yeah, when the Master can do something whereby, he looks at the TARDIS and goes, I can fix this. This isn't a problem. It helps with him being a villain then. How dangerous he is as a villain. Well, when I see Sean Pertwee in shots like this as well, this is where I can really see Sean Pertwee, where they look the same, particularly in the eyes.
Yeah. I'd love Sean Pertwee to play his dad's part in a multi-Doctor story, because he's got enough gravitas to be able to do it convincingly as well.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to Luke Oza, it was a couple of months ago now, and we were saying about that sort of thing, and I said Sean Pertwee, and he went, well, I can't really see that, so I sent him the picture someone mocked up of Sean Pertwee with his dad's hair and that. Like, oh yeah.
So when Sean Pertwee was in Gotham?
No, because I don't want.
Right. Well, when Sean Pertwee was in Gotham, they had the Halloween episode, and for a laugh, he turned up as the Third Doctor. He dressed up as the Third Doctor for. I'll show you the. Let's have a look. Yeah. Have I got a bigger picture? No. Just save this image. So let me just go into here. Hey there, you stop. There you go. And Sean Pertwee dressed up as his old man. Switch that back so I got control.
You do want control.
Anytime I do something, it keeps switching over to the functions. So I'm just as likely to boot Photoshop as I am to switch over to pictures. Yeah, I think the Axon costume is a great costume.
Somewhat of an overkill there with the old tendrils.
I think I would do them more malleable these days. Less form constricted, so they actually sort of move around in a bit more You ever see the movie Venom?
No.
Well, it has this way of moving, whereby it's sort of like more globular and just like has his tendrils just come out and just moves along.
All right, yeah. I haven't seen the film, but I've seen clips of the actual Venom creature. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably do something very similar to that. I like that. I like that even at this point in Doctor Who, like it's like this thing's so old. I think it helps with the technology that they had to use to make the TARDIS at the time. Yes, I'd be confused with that as well. That's not what they do.
No one does.
Maybe they are supposed to do that. Maybe the Master's actually done something. Like maybe that's why the Doctor's TARDIS looks the way it does, is because the Master's trying to sort it out and go, oh, this is how it's supposed to work. And this idiot's got monitors everywhere. It's entirely possible that the Doctor's been buggering it up from the start.
Well, they made that stupid joke in one of the recent series, didn't they? That the TARDIS only makes that noise if
It
you've left
leaves
the
the
handbrake
brakes on, yeah.
I absolutely hated that gag.
No. Nothing you can do. I mean, it's good that they've previously established as well that bullets just don't do a thing. You know, these things can absorb energy.
Yeah.
And again, radiation, absorb energy. Fire, absorbs it.
See, Roger Delgado's really believable when he starts science talking as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Now I really want to shoot him.
But I had a dream that told me must stop the master. I had head swings and everything.
I rocked back and forth in a sweat.
You made me ham it up for nothing.
I used specific exposition. Specific exposition. At no point was I being chased by a giant chicken. I mean, it's not the best of sets when you go to a wide angle like that.
No, that chair did look a bit. Well, it didn't even look like an inflatable chair. It looked worse than
It's
that.
just
It looked like
polystyrene.
polystyrene.
I'll walk through this bit where there are only arm-length claws sticking out.
Yeah. Oh dear, oh dear.
Camera angle didn't help that. Mind, if they changed the camera angle, it would have helped a lot. If they were photographing it more towards the wall instead of side on. Catch to a lot of people just doing this.
And the next thing is a lot of people doing this.
So the
Well, it's going to have to be another
yes,
episode.
there's a book called The Face of the Enemy where the Doctor and Joe are away in the TARDIS, and Newt has to ask Ian and Barbara. No companions for help. Imprisoned Master and Unit versus Invasion from Inferno.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. Sorry,
Is that an audio book, Ian, or is that just a paper and ink job?
yeah, facets on the Inferno facets on the moon from another dimension. They don't normally do interdimensional stuff on Doctor Who, and they should. There's a whole other. Oh, I forgot to say. BritBox presented by BBC, starting now.
Oh, part 4 already. So
Yeah.
I mean, all right. There's been some ups and downs in this, but the story's not too bad. Like you said, it is the editing that is letting it down.
Big time.
And some of the camera angles are.
Well, these weird
a
white
bit
flash
funky.
outs and green flash outs and just this strobing and like, what are you doing? You know, it's just bizarre. And they're being strange for the sake of being strange instead of, you know.
All right, it's a real paper book. I'll have to see if I can find a digital version to read of that, because that sounds quite interesting. Cheers, Ian. Hey, you see that overlay on the front of that when they're walking
Yeah.
through, if you had time in that very short
Yeah.
shot? That reminds me of something. My my second cousin used to do discos when I was a kid for like family parties and stuff like that. And he had this projector with a wheel that went
Yeah, the
round on it,
go-go.
and it had loads of these sort of weird things to project on the wall. It looks like one of them they're using as an
Yeah.
overlay.
Again, it's just the whole shaking the woman. Get it together, woman.
He's already smacked her once.
But, I mean, you could have picked it up and thrown it over her shoulder. I mean, yeah. Dive! She didn't, because she would have cut her knees open.
Yeah. When most of the BBC film crew would have seen up her kilt, and that weren't the dumb thing. It's the 1970s. She was far too old for all that sort of shenanigan. I probably said that out loud, didn't I?
Oh dear. Just a couple of actors in costumes doing their best monster acting.
We appear to have got all sorts of funny colours at the moment, mate.
He's not coming back. The thing is, it goes with what they always do with Classic Who, and that's the supporting cast is stronger than some of the main elements. You know, these aren't just characters that you can just kill off. These are well-rounded characters.
Yeah. I think the stream's gone a bit funky, by the way.
Possibly. I don't know. I'm seeing excellent connection. So if,
It seems to be all right.
yeah,
I think it's a Skype issue.
oh, it could be. The course says fine from here. Yeah.
It's all right. You've got a book to send me,
Yes,
by the looks of it, mate.
I do. Yes. Thank you, Ian.
Cheers, Ian.
No, just so you know as well, Chris.
Yes.
You know you mentioned about the whole 1970s BBC thing. Well,
Yeah.
a member of the cast is David Seville. I just bringing that up. It's a Savile on board. Yeah, see, the music in this is much better than his usual treatment. When Dudley Simpson wants, so he can do some good stuff. But he's got to be invested.
Yeah.
It's worth pointing out as well is that Bernard Hawley, who was the lead Axon man, was also in Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh, right.
I do find him. Do you know, I can't remember the guy's name. What's his name? He played Crawley in Supernatural. I can't remember his name, but he reminds me of the character he played in Doctor Who. Oh God, I'm gonna have to Google this now. Supernatural TV show. Let's have a look. Oh God. Crawley. Mark Sheppard. Hold on. Doctor Who. Played Canton, Delaware in Doctor Who.
All right.
Where he was with Richard Nixon. We take the Winky valve and plug it into the Plippity Plopper. What do you think? What do you think of what they've done with the TARDIS set here, though? 'Cause it's a lot smaller, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a lot smaller, but it's got an air of familiarity about it that I quite like.
And it looks like they've taken the old translit and put it outside the door as well. I'm just curious as to what the state of the set actually was when they were making this. I'd be willing to bet it was probably bashed up.
Oh yeah, I would say so. Which really, when you think about it, it was only like 8 years old. So
Yeah. I mean, one of the things to bear in mind as well is that the way the BBC worked when making shows like Doctor Who was the fact that they would flat pack the sets.
Yeah.
That once the production was over, it would get all taken down and put into storage. Intergalactic Haggis taken off. I'd be willing to bet that half the problems that they've got with Claws of Axos probably did stem from Mind of Evil. They were probably looking for the cheapest way to do things. Because they probably just blew the budget.
Yeah, it's going to take more than an Axon to stop them.
They're quite effective though for you know, with how the tendrils work with the explosions and stuff.
Yeah. Not so much the suits when they're climbing up onto a car, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
They look a bit baggy and saggy.
Yeah. But I think we get quite a nice little action scene here where, well, this is quite a decent explosion, I think. For Doctor Who, anyway.
Yeah.
Again, this is Havoc just... Why wouldn't you if you could?
That's a sad thing to happen to a Land Rover.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, it's a bit harsh for the Brigadier to be dissed that way, like.
Yeah. It's very undoctory.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I do know what happens here, so humble pie aplenty.
There's something you haven't seen for a while.
Or heard.
Time Runner going up and down. TARDIS taking off. There it is. And literally, I don't think you've seen that happen since Spearhead from Space. They've definitely done some rejigging to the Time Rotor there. Can you really see the Master going along with this? I mean, maybe just because he can get his own TARDIS back. I love the fact that they've already established that bullets and everything don't work, so they go instantly go for grenades. Yeah, that's
Scientific explanation.
yeah.
Bang.
He's put it into layman's terms. Yeah, so yeah, they've got it set a time, so they've got the graphic doing this.
At least that actually looks quite effective, though, in the
It's,
background.
I mean, I think it was supposed to be an actual screen. I think they did end up reprojecting. Which, I mean, back then, they may as well have done that all the time. It would have been a more effective use of the technology. The problem with using monitors is that you can't get monitors to refresh at the same rate as the cameras. I mean, I've seen fireworks make bigger bangs than those grenades. They're a quarter healed.
Bullets don't work, but we'll shoot anyway.
Yeah. See what I mean about Joe? It's like,
Yeah.
what? What are you doing?
Yeah, they've basically done a Perry with her, haven't they? They've
Yeah.
forgotten how to write her for an episode and made her a screamer.
It looks like they're being attacked by Pizza the Hut. This is one of those stories, though, whereby because they're all one entity, damaging one damages them all. It is a plot device that actually works.
Yeah.
And there you have it, really. That's the defeat of the Axons.
A whole lever.
I want to tell you that there's something better, but no. This actually is a proper nuclear facility as well that they are driving out of. They actually had permission to film there.
Yeah, they did used to get some good location stuff, didn't they, in the 70s? Especially, particularly in Pertwee series.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were working with the MOD as well, so I think, their relationship strengthened as the series went on.
Well, that's it. I mean, for the most part, they never portrayed the army in particular as idiots, did they? They portrayed them
No.
as scientists and stuff like that. So there's no reason why they wouldn't have a good relationship with the MOD.
I mean, they were effectively the heroes of these stories. You know,
Yeah.
they would normally have the bureaucrats be the people that they're fighting against, and have the military or unit be the dynamic ones that they help save the day. I'm gonna tell you now, I don't know how they did that shot, because as far as I can tell, it's a full-size explosion.
It did look like a full size, didn't it?
Initially, I thought maybe it's a model shot, but I've looked and I can't see it being a model shot at all. I think it's a full-size bang. So I have no idea how they managed to do that. The only thing I could think of is that it was from a compound that was in front of the nuclear facility, and they just set off a lot of gasoline. I mean, that's the end of that.
A galactic yo-yo, eh?
Yep. And that's the end of Claws of Axos. Defeated by a flip of a switch. And that's exactly what I mean about the ending of it. It's just... I like the idea of trapping the Axons in time, because of how unstoppable they are. I like the fact that because they are linked as a singular entity, that what you do to one affects them all. And that's what I think makes such a good villain, is the fact that these things are, if you were to do a modern Doctor Who story now with Axons, they're a handful. That's where I would have said, when you want a big villain, these things would whoop Daleks. Just 7 weeks from Sunday. They're unstoppable. And the Doctor doesn't stop them, he just traps them. So, is there a way back for the Axons? Yes. But as for Claws of Axos itself, to me, memorable villain, not so much the story though. That's what I take from it. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up at the beginning of the stream. Yeah, it's a really good idea, a really good antagonist, but what with the editing and some of the issues with the story and the very Deus Ex Machina button flip at the end. I mean, he was being pinned to the table by the Axons. Surely the bits that are in the TARDIS would have gone with him because of the way the TARDIS works. Yeah, it's not the best, is it? I didn't hate it. I
No.
still enjoyed watching it. I'll give it that. It was still an enjoyable watch, but and I would watch it again. But yeah, it's certainly lacking some of the things we've seen in the last couple of episodes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, again, they do sci-fi for the sake of sci-fi in this. You get stuff thrown in, like I said, the televisual communication, uh, that whole thing. He should have been in an office. He should have been getting addressed down in person. They obviously had access to the actor because the actor was there doing it. So really, he should have been just like, what can I equate this to? Sort of James Bond being in M's office then and being given a dress down. It's
Yeah.
that similar sort of scene, whereby the ministers are talking and just giving him a sort of a ribbon. It should have been that. The character of Chin I thought was a good character, whereby again he's a great middleman. Um, Filer, again, was a bit more the action hero type. Um,
But he didn't do a lot of it, really. The
no,
problem I've got with Filer is he sounded like the voice that the actor was putting on sounded like an American hippie. And I expect him to say, "Hey, man, is this the way to Woodstock?" as it was going on, because that's the kind of voice he was
yeah,
doing. And I know this was 1971, so it was quite close to all that going on. But I'm not sure the way his character looked, he would have that sort of really slow, drawn-out drawl, and he would sound. He did. He just sounded like a hippie. Hey, man.
I'm wondering because again we've talked about cross pollination with the show and everything, and what was going on all the time. I'm betting there's because like Dirty Harry was out when this show was being made. I'm just wondering how much of they were looking at sort of Clint Eastwood and sort of this whole thing. And the era as well, by the way. It's not just because I'm a big Clint Eastwood fan anyway. I've got the whole Clint Eastwood collection. I think he's an amazing director. I think he's a brilliant actor. I think he is a better director than he is an actor, mind. Um, I love all the movies that he's ever made.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, you say that about him being a better director, but the character of Harry Callahan, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing that part so
I
well.
know. See, somebody asked me that recently as well. Who would I have to replace him? And I said, well, I'd have Hugh Jackman. Um,
Well, I suppose Hugh Jackman has got that kind of look, and he can do the hair. But
yeah. Um,
yeah, no, the first Dirty Harry film
all
is
of them.
superb.
I like all of them. I like even Deadpool with Jim Carrey. It's still I love it. Um,
Yeah, they're good, but I mean, the first one you had was it Andrew Morrison in it, who obviously went on to play one of the best characters in Star Trek.
yeah.
So
No, I mean, but yeah, I think that was sort of influencing what was happening in the show, and they wanted to introduce this more action hero type character, more of a because it was happening in Bond as well, whereby you had the character of Felix Leiter being introduced.
yeah,
So it seems to me like there was a lot of cross pollination happening with this, and again, I think that. I mean, we talked about Adam West's Batman earlier, but that was definitely a thing that was happening on still happening on TV. I would assume, because we were probably picking up a later broadcast of it. So even though it was the '66 Batman, it was probably I can't ever remember a time of it not being on TV. Um,
no, not when I was a kid.
no,
Certainly, you could always find Batman, Star Trek, and Doctor Who somewhere.
yeah, it was always so. I'd be willing to bet that it was probably being an influence anyway. Um, so the sets in this weren't bad as well.
No,
We had some dodgy scenes where we had tendrils flapping out of the wall. Um, that was enough. A different camera angle would have helped that immensely. But again, the main problem with this episode, with all four, is the editing is just horrendous.
yeah, no argument from me. I couldn't believe that shot. It was in the first or second episode where they were talking, and Joe said, "What about Filer?" And they flicked to Filer, And I thought, all right, so we're going to see what he's up to now. And just as I thought that, he flicked back, and I was
Yeah,
like, well,
and you don't get a fight.
what's the point of
Yeah.
that?
And then they keep cutting back to what's happening on board the Axon ship. And it's just like, but this has nothing to do. Like, put all those together, and that might tell some sort of narrative. But the fact that they kept jumping back and forth, and again, it just seems like that this was probably the first time the editor had access to a VT editing suite. And that's how it feels. It's like, oh, I've got this queued up. I can queue this, I can queue that, I can queue that. I've got 4 cameras I can choose from. Sitting there looking at all these monitors, just all these levers and buttons everywhere, just going, hey, look what I can do.
Yeah, and he kept pressing the button. Oh, green flash. What does that
Ah, that.
do? Oh, white flash fade out. What does that do?
Yeah, I can queue this up with a different colour look. Unless you do that. Click, why? Why do it? Why? What possible thing that benefit does that do? Genuinely, I think that you could clean edit this and get a much better version of the story. I think, is there enough of this story there that it would improve the story? I mean, you're still stuck with the same end, so
yeah.
Which is, yeah, I understand the ending and I get it, and I think it's a clever way of getting rid of the villains. That's not the bit I have the problem with. The bit I have the problem with is the Doctor saves himself by just flicking the switch. And there's nothing else. There's no scientific reason. He's not like, oh, I can genetically separate from the Axons because they're a different species or anything like that. It's just literally, if I click the switch, I'm out of here. But overall though, as a villain, I really do like them. They are up there for me as ones that should be more than a one and done. Where do you?
Although with their eyes, I think they shouldn't have called them Axons. They should have called them the Feldons.
But I mean, where are you with the Axons now that you've freshly viewed this?
Yeah, I think they could have been a great recurring enemy.
Well, I mean, they do have.
There's plenty of scope for them to have come back.
I mean, given the basis of it is the fact that they can be developed from a single cell. Like, what I think is great with that idea is the fact that you had a scientist that was playing with axonite, this material, doing research on it, whatever. This stuff, you only need one piece, one tiny little piece of this stuff, and you've got a problem. And to me, that's what makes these things so dangerous, is the fact that you could have a little bit of axonite and you've got yourself a whole heap of problems that you're just unaware of. The second that thing starts, absorbing nutrients, that's it, game over. It's a bit sort of, I want to say like Day of the Triffids, almost. In that these things will just nest and develop and get roots down, and that'll be it. Like they'll just multiply and.
Yeah, that's a good analogy actually. Yeah, they are very Triffid-like. I mean, they did come across as more planty, didn't they? So.
Well, again, it's a high concept. I mean, particularly for 1971 as well. It's a high concept alien. The fact that not only is it a biological ship, that it's grown instead of engineered. Not only that, but the alien on board it is actually the ship itself. And everything that it produces is part of the ship. So it's a very, very... and again, I mentioned how much like the Borg they are. Because they are a singular entity. The Borg has one consciousness. Well, this only has one consciousness. It's so similar, and they could just... You could do it whereby you could bring back the Axons and be like, you've got a serious issue here. Like, I can't stress that enough. It's these things would blow the Cybermen apart. They would just absolutely rip them to shreds.
So I was just thinking about how you could actually bring them back, and I mean, I think if I was going to do it, I'd start the story at that. But there's that place, I think it's somewhere in Scandinavia, where they've got one of every sort of cell on the planet of plant life, and that. So someone got an Axon cell there and it's been frozen, and go from that. And that'd be a easy starting point.
Well, I mean, yeah, if we're gonna base it based on what's been happening in current Who as well, I mean, they made a reference to the fact that units been disbanded, and if they had the Axon particle in storage, they had to go somewhere.
I'll tell you what, if they bring the Axons back in New Who, I'm on the side of the Axons.
No, but I mean, it's such a... I would bring the... would you have to bring them back on Earth, though? I mean, I suppose you would. But I just want Doctor Who to get away from Earth. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, I mean, that could be a start off, couldn't it? They need to, because it's self-perpetuating, they need to take it away and then get off Earth after the first episode.
Yeah.
Or 10 minutes in, it would be now, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely want them to be a season-long villain. You make it so that once they're in, and how do you deal with that? You know, how do you deal with something that is... Because the thing with the Axons is that they're a good allegory for telling stories about greed, which they did with Chin. But also, it's good for a story about, you know, how do you deal with something that is essentially a cancer, you know, and what do you do when you're faced with that sort of situation whereby the odds on survival aren't good. I mean, I've just had, you know, luckily enough, a friend of mine has been in chemotherapy and has just literally been given the all clear, which is, you know, the best news I ever had, was to get that message off him saying, you know, I'm in remission now for the next couple of years. You know, that's brilliant. Well, I mean, there's that story narrative there that you can use, and it's not just. I mean, I'm using that as an allegory for it, but I mean, it applies to so many things than just, you know, cancer. But I mean, it's just the first thing that come to my mind.
Yeah.
But it applies to so many different things. I mean, you could use this as an allegory for debt, for drug addiction, there's so many, provided that you make it nebulous enough, people can take from it what they need. Which is something that I find to be absent with a lot of science fiction these days, is the fact that they try to make something so specific with what they're talking about that it almost feels like you're being talked down to.
Yeah, I mean, if I was gonna do a series long one, and I was in charge of writing it, I'd actually take one of your ideas, and I'd start with them already infesting, I don't know, a forest, or, you know, somewhere in the Amazon, you know, something's happening, but I'd already have them, so a massive area, all the tendrils and that under the ground and in amongst the trees is already Axon, so they're already in and got a foothold.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you'd want it to you don't want a situation whereby I think what you want is to create a situation whereby it's already too late. That's always my preferred method of storytelling anyway. Is that if you can stop it, and you can stop it with no harm, no foul, you know, it's not as fun. And, you know, I've always said, you know, why I think, you know, Octopussy is a good Bond film, but GoldenEye is a great Bond film, and that's because Octopussy stops the bomb from going off, and GoldenEye, the bomb goes off in the first 5 minutes. You know, it's how do you deal with the fallout, and that's always a much more interesting story. And with something like the Axons, that's what you'd have to deal with, is the fallout, because preventing them is neither here nor there. It's solving the fallout is the problem. And that's whereby I think you get good storytelling, because people aren't afflicted by how do you prevent something. They're always afflicted by something that's happened to them in life and they need to sort it out. And that's where I think most storytelling comes from. You get this whole, in storytelling you tend to get the hero's journey. And this, if you look online, I'm sure you'll see it. You'll see a wheel which goes through like 7 points of the hero's journey, and it's starting showing the hero in their normal day of life, then showing a change, then showing failure, then picking themselves up, getting rejected, and going at it again and winning. Whereas in something like Doctor Who, whereby you've already got a pre-established hero that's already on a journey, you need to bring in other characters, similar to how they did with the secondary characters in this. And you need to, that's why we do it as a seasonal villain, is because you want to bring in these characters that have to go through things to tell the story. The Doctor becomes the observer. That's how you get through it. And that also, I think, makes science fiction writing is what makes it good for telling those sorts of stories, is the fact that you can make something nebulous and make it so that it's a situation that many people in many different situations can take something from. What the failings are of today is the fact that you've got science fiction stories that have become so specific. When they done Star Trek Discovery and they started dealing with transgender issues. Well, I hate to tell you this, but 99.5% of the entire planet's population aren't going to be able to identify with transgender issues. We're just not going to be able to do it.
That's true.
But if you were to make a story like what they did with the Next Generation in, I think, is The Outcast?
Yeah.
Where
I know the one you mean.
Whereby it was about an individual who felt like they were being made to serve what other people wanted, and how it didn't affect their lives any, how this person lived their life. Everybody can identify with that. That's not a transgender issue or a gay issue or an LGBT issue. That is.
No, it's a life issue.
It's a life issue, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and that goes to how I think sci-fi has changed in its writing, and it's why I think I do prefer these higher concept ideas like where we go with Claws of Axos. It's a little bit of a story about greed. It's a little bit of a story about, facing a problem together and, all that. It doesn't do it exactly well enough, I feel, in Claws of Axos to really sell the idea. It does become a bit of a bog monster story, but it's still, at least it's part of the narrative, and it's still there. It's still present. I don't really have much more I can say about that, really. I mean, if we're going to look at it, for the time, the costumes worked sort of well enough. The heads worked the best. The leotards,
I'll tell you what, the actual more planty, tendrily Axons. I can't believe I'm going to say this for something that was made in 1971, but they actually worked better in close-up than they did at distance.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case in 1970s Doctor Who.
But I think what works there is the fact that when you see them in close-up, you can't see the actors doing their monster acting.
Yeah.
When it's in close-up, you get to see the costume for what it is and these things coming at you, whereas in wide, you got these people doing... do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
that's what you get, and I think that does work a lot better in close up actually. Um, yeah, you also get the guy rolling around on the floor in the tent as well. Um, production value wise though, it just doesn't hold up to the previous episode.
No.
It's just not up to the same standard. It's not.
Oh, I mean, in certain places, it made the brain in a box look a lot more advanced. But yeah, the only one for me that I was like, oh Christ, was the bloke under a blanket on the floor. I mean, I could see what they was trying to do,
Yeah.
but it looked too much like a painted sheet. If it had been a bit of slime added to it, so it looked like some sort of embryonic sac where he was changing, they might have got away with it. But it did. It just looked like a bloke in a tie-dyed sheet.
And the thing is, I think it looks worse than. I know this gets brought up some of the time, at least for one of the worst effects. But remember, in the original series of Star Trek with the rock creature,
Oh, the halter.
the Horta, yeah. If you were to compare the two, the Horta wins.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a knockdown blow for you.
Bloody hell, yeah.
It does though, doesn't it? I mean, if you
It does, yeah.
um,
Just funny, yeah.
let's take a look here. Best thing in the episode. What was effective for you in this episode?
In terms of effects, the tendrils shooting out of the running actors doing their monster impression with the explosions at the end, they were timed quite nicely. The initial shots of the inside of the Axon ship, where you had the Brigadier standing there and you had some CSO in the background, you had like a valve sort of doing that in the background. That worked really well.
Yeah.
Some of it was really good to look at. The painted curtains were elasticated that looked like, they look like dodgy coloured female genitalia. To be honest, they didn't work so well.
No. I mean, best thing about the episode?
Best thing about the episode, well, it'd be easier to say Roger Delgado, wouldn't it?
You can say whatever you like. I mean, it's up to you. Well, I tell you what, I'll say like what I thought was effective in this episode was the Axons. I felt like the head makeup that they had with those eyeballs, I thought they were incredibly effective. To me, the best thing is still John Pertwee with his props. Pertwee's props, man. It's just the guy can sell the room. He just can. He knows how to use a clipboard, a pen. You just got it. You can walk into a room and make a light switch feel important.
I'll tell you what. I'll take back that from Roger Delgado. Sorry, that bit where Pertwee's in the reactor room by himself, or the particle accelerator room by himself, and he starts fiddling about with stuff and opening doors and stuff like that. Yeah, that was great. That you could believe that he knew what he was doing and was being effective with it.
Yeah. Worst, aside from the editing, which we've all previously established, least effective or worst thing in the episode.
Oh, it's got to be the bloke under the blanket for me, and Filer's jump out of the spaceship.
What would I? Let's see. Worst thing here. I mean, Filer's flop sweat in the bed.
Yeah, that was my next thing. I just remembered that.
That was.
Must kill the master.
Yeah. He's 5'8" tall. He's got a receding hairline. He's got brown. I mean, what was he doing? That's a direct in failure. Clearly, there's no need to put that in there. I know that they were probably covering bets for people who hadn't watched the previous episode, But you can't base what you're doing on who might or might not have seen the previous show.
Yeah, it's true.
And again, it goes back to again to showing how good Timothy Coombs was with his production of Mind of Evil. If I've got to say, I think what is it? Aside from Filer's flop, I mean the ending. I've got to bring that up as probably the worst thing. The fact that you get no real good finish. The fact that it's all done with a flick of a switch. That to me brings this episode down. But
And the fact that the model of the TARDIS had the St John's ambulance badge on it, and the actual TARDIS when it landed didn't.
Yeah.
That as well.
But I mean, like, perhaps there was a more effective way of doing it, and maybe it's lost in the jumble. But I don't know. It kind of feels like it's a bit more anticlimactic because he literally just sort of. Maybe that's why they added the explosion. I don't know, but he literally clicks the switch, lands the TARDIS, realizes the place is about to go up, takes back off, lands again, and that's it. They add the bang in between, just to add a bit of dramatic flair, I suppose. But the actual escape from the Axons was a nothing escape.
No, you can't just press a button to do that, really. Well, you can. They did,
yeah.
But you shouldn't.
No. So, overall, Claws of Axos, where are you with this series now that you've seen it? What do you think overall thoughts now after seeing all 4 parts again?
It's not the greatest. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'd probably still enjoy this over a lot of the stuff from the reboot because I enjoy the way it's put together, and I like the 4 parts and the 6 parts and stuff like that. If I was going to give this a rating, I would give this a 6. I think I've got no problem with the enemies. I've got no problem with most of the acting apart from the head flop. It's just. It's exactly what you said at the beginning of the stream. It fails in its execution. It fails in the editing.
Yeah.
And there's some things that are an idea too far. They didn't. The thing with clearly a man under a sheet on the floor, they could have done that with something a lot smaller and a lot less. That looks like a bloke under a sheet. There were ways of doing it, or not bother with that bit at all. There's certain bits that could have been cut out and not put in. That would have made the production look a little bit more professional. It looked amateur in places.
I find that bit that you're referring to with the guy on the sheet a little bit odd because they already had other Axon outfits.
Yeah.
So that's a bit strange. I mean I would say I think you're right in the fact that it's a 4-part episode, so it moves along at a faster pace. Where am I with this episode? I would say this episode probably pays off more and has been dining out on nostalgia more than its actual structure. I think if you were to introduce this to somebody who's never seen it before, it was unfamiliar with the show. I know you haven't really seen this before, or if you have, you can't really remember it. But I think that if you were to take somebody with real fresh eyes that wasn't even used to classical, a new Whovian then, I think perhaps they'd probably find a few more issues with it than we have. Which I think it is just endemic of how I've said this before about the BBC. There were people working behind the scenes on this series that just didn't care. They were there to earn a paycheck, and that was it. That's not everybody. I'll hand you that. There are plenty of people in the production department that were working on this
that really believed in what they were doing. But that's not how the BBC worked at the time. Usually you were assigned somebody, and I'd be willing to bet, like with the editor on this, that they were probably assigned the editor. They probably had, this person's not making this show at this moment in time. He's not busy. He can edit for Doctor Who. So they probably didn't have, because even these days, when they're making TV shows now, you usually probably get one editor probably working on multiple shows.
Yeah, but you thought they would have done better than giving them the editor from Play away.
I mean, it's just the biggest problem with the show. For me, I'd give it a 6.5. Mainly because I think the Axons are brilliant at villains. That's purely it. I think the effects in this, whereby they got the strobe flashing for no reason whatsoever. Like, you got the dead body on the floor and they walk up to it and for some reason it just fades to white. It's just a ludicrous thing. Some of the overplayed sci-fi elements in this don't work for me. Just they're for the sake of being there. And the end is what cripples me. It's just you can't have that as an ending. You have to come up with something better.
That was really poor. I mean, I was thinking of giving it around a sort of 7 to start with, because I was basing my sort of score on the ideas within the episode and stuff like that, rather than being all judgmental about it. Realising what they could and couldn't do. But then, yeah, I took a point off for the ending. So 6 for me, and I think 6 is actually quite generous when you think of some of the shortcomings that are in it.
I mean, the thing is with the ending as well is that it jumps to the end. It's literally within the last 4 minutes of the episode that it jumps to the end. There's no epilogue with this story.
No, I mean, I was thinking while we was watching it, and I moved my mouse so I could see how far there was left of the episode, and I thought, as my copy of this going to cut out or something? Because there's not a lot left. All of a sudden they went bang, 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 and the music come. And I was like, oh, right. Thanks for that.
I mean, it's fair to say as well, Dudley Simpson had a good outing with the music in this as well. Let's point that out as well. The musical score for this episode could have been a lot worse, but it was actually a pretty decent score. First episode as well, where we had the whole guy, as again, it was very Monty Python. Having the guy just making the noises and approaching the ship and falling in the pond.
All he was missing was a fart and a burp, weren't he?
Yeah.
Really, let's be honest. Yeah.
Like I said, a giant animated foot coming down. It's just, yeah. They're the things that didn't need to be there. There were things that they. And again, the editing is the hugest problem with this, because I said before we started this, I said it feels like somebody's punching you in the face, because it just keeps jumping you from one scene to the next, and you're really not sure where the hell, why they're even doing it. Good secondary characters again, which is something that Doctor Who Classic does very, very well, is introduce secondary supporting characters that make you, that move you to an emotion. That like I said with Mr. Chin, he's a pompous prick. He's that. Anytime an actor can do that, whereby you can be introduced to them, and in the first 2 minutes you go in, I hate this guy. They've done it well. So there are pluses and minuses all over the place with this one for me.
There are, but with characters like Chin and Filer and that, I don't know why they never brought them back. Especially Filer. Filer could have been,
I think right. So I think why they didn't bring Filer back was because they already had other characters like Filer. They already had your Mike Yates, your Benton, your Brigadier. I think they didn't want another one in there. I'm not sure how well received Filer was as a character anyway. So he probably could have worked a little bit better. I'm not sure where you would have gone with it though, unless you were planning on doing a show that was set in Washington or something like that. Which
I'll tell you where I would have gone with Filer. Barbershop to start with.
I mean, there is always the possibility of them doing something like that, whereby the show doesn't go abroad to the States or elsewhere very often. Give me a Doctor Who set in Moldova, Romania, just go somewhere else, no, it's going to land in London. That's it. Become in this series, it doesn't matter too much, because with Pertwee's era being confined and exiled and being part of the unit scientific advisor, that works really, really well. Where are you so far with Pertwee though? Because you haven't seen a lot of this era. So now, given what you've seen up until now, where are you currently with how this Doctor's first season is panning out, or second season?
Yeah. No, I think John Pertwee's a great Doctor. I really do. I make no secret that my favourite is Tom Baker.
Yeah.
But John Pertwee, I'd have trouble choosing between Pertwee and Troughton as my second favourite Doctor. Although saying that, just want to edge something in. I was thinking about all the different ones we've done, and I think the only Peter Davison story we've done is Castrovalva.
Yes.
And what was the one on the ship?
Enlightenment.
We haven't done many of his. So it might be worth looking at Davidson in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was thinking of where we go after we do Pertwee, and see, I wanted to go back further.
We can.
I really wanted to go back Hartnell. That's just me though. So yeah, gotta go. Stuff to do. Take care. Enjoy the book. Yeah, cheers, Ian. Thanks for that.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Yeah, take care. And now again, we won't be here next week because I'll be with my son next week. So I doubt that we'll be doing it next Saturday. Saturday. What day are we?
Saturday.
That's the one.
The Sunday was our first.
I told you, man. The Pfizer messed me up. Yeah, so we won't be here next week, but we'll be here the week after with Colony in Space. So hopefully we'll see you then. But take care. Have a good time. Where was I? What was my chain of thought? What was I? Oh yeah. I was thinking of going back to William Hartnell, because we haven't really done a massive amount that far back, and Hartnell has some of my favourite episodes as well. I make no bones or complaints about it. I think my favourite Hartnell stories are Space Museum, The Chase, for sure. The Chase is brilliant. I love that. And obviously 10th Planet. War Machines, I like. I think it's a good story. Sensorites, I like the Sensorite story. It's quite good. What else?
Gunfighters?
No. The problem with Gunfighters, honestly, the problem with Gunfighters is literally the music. There's this damned song that keeps showing up all the time, and it's just infuriating. But yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the best Hartnell here, this one look War Machines, the Ark, Time Meddler. How can you forget Time Meddler? Christ. Space Museum, The Chase. I tell you what's great with The Chase. It brings up some historical stuff that happens. It mixes it with some sci-fi stuff that happens, and then not to give too much away, but it's the exit of Ian and Barbara. And I think that they go out in such a good way that I don't say I don't want to say emotional, but it's kind of like once you've done the Ian and Barbara story and they exit, you're kind of like, I mean, good on them, like it, but yeah.
Also, being the chase, it's obviously the first appearance of Bradley Walsh as well.
So yeah, Lacusa's put. I love the chase. Great story. It is. There's little moments in the chase that they'll put a smile on my face. One of the best things is the Mary Celeste. That moment makes me laugh like nobody's business. I think it's a brilliant part of the story. Or the haunted house. Those little things whereby the Daleks are getting roasted by bloody Dracula. It's great stuff. So yeah, I mean, let's look. Yeah, what we got here? So we've got An Unearthly Child. We've got Doctor Who and the Daleks. Edge of Destruction. Edge of Destruction is good as well. That's like 2 episodes, I think. Keys of Marinus. Yep. I mean, that's Aztecs. The Aztecs gets a good reputation, but I don't enjoy it that much. It's okay. Sensorites, yes, I like the Sensorites. Reign of Terror, yeah. Planet of the Giants, who expect funky effects in that. Dalek Invasion of Earth, Space Museum, The Chase, Time Meddler, The Ark, The Gunfighters, yeah, War Machines, yeah, 10th Planet. Yeah, I mean, there's. I mean, I just want to have a quick look. Where have I put?
I mean, I'll go wherever you want to go with, mate. I mean, I'm quite happy to go back and look at some of Hartnell's stuff.
Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, the thing is, I like the classic era of Who, and I'm just thinking of, before going any further, because Hartnell gets left out a lot out of Doctor Who. And to me, like, there are moments that he has, which I can't take away. I can't look at the new Who stuff, and see this guy being neglected when he brings a lot to the role.
Well, he made the role, didn't he? So
I mean, it's just.
The original, you might say.
Yeah, but it's not just that. I think what people don't realise about Hartnell is how much he is, or how much influence he had on people like Peter Capaldi. Whereby he's got this grouchy, grumpy, no time for anyone type of attitude, and it's the fact that he can't suffer fools. He's got no time for ignorance.
I know someone like that. He's watching at the moment.
But that's what his doctor is. It's not that his doctor is crotchety, but it's because he's got this keen sense of wanting to know. In Doctor Who and the Daleks, whereby he takes the fluidic link. He takes it because he really wants to know what the hell's going on. He's got this. His curiosity has got the better of him, and that's a trait that I think lives with the character up until now. Let's see what's missing. I tell you what. The other thing that we haven't covered as well is the reconstructed episode, the one that was done by the. Guys in, I think, is it Leicester University or Leeds University, whereby they remade a missing episode.
All right.
Yeah, that was what was it? Oh God.
I'm assuming that'll be on YouTube.
It is on YouTube, yeah. Because they actually had it introduced by one of the people that starred in the episode. Oh God, what was that? Because it was before Dalek Master Plan.
It'd definitely be good if we can watch that. That also means anyone that's watching that hasn't got all the episodes available will be able to watch along.
Yeah, yeah. Dark Invasion. The Rescue. The Romans. Don't think you heard me mention the Web Planet. Which I think is a lot better than its reputation. I know I didn't mention the Web Planet. Other Romans. But Web Planet, yeah, with the insects. Yeah, I mean that gets a bad reputation because of bug costumes, I think. But sort of, yeah, the Chase, Time Meddler. Again, Time Meddler. We got Peter Butterworth playing another Time Lord.
Only trouble, every time I see Peter Butterworth in anything, every time someone asks him something, I expect him to go, "There'll be £1, please." Mr. Fiddler.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got the Ark, Gunfighters, War Machines. I'm trying to find... Where was it? Because it's the episode, it's literally... It's the episode whereby the Doctor's not actually in it. Oh, God, I'm blanking so much.
Oh, I know which one you mean as well.
Ah. I've just... It's doing my nut in now. I've got to find it.
It's not the Rescue, is it?
No.
Well, I've got a list in front of me. I can read the lot out if you want.
Maybe. Mission to the Unknown!
Rescue.
Good God. Mission to the Unknown.
AKA the Dalek Cutaway, that one.
It's literally it's actually, I think it's actually on the Doctor Who page. As a matter of fact. If I just check this out. It is on the Doctor Who, it's on the official Doctor Who page.
Ah, is that the Y2 Mate one?
Yeah, prelude episode for the Daleks Master Plan. Yes, that's I thought it was, but no, it was made by a group of students in university, and they basically the premise behind it was to remake an episode of Doctor Who that was missing, that was gone, that there was no chance of getting back.
It looks like I've actually got that in amongst all my Doctor Who stuff. I've got here made by reconstruction by y2mate.com, and it's being introduced by Edward D'Souza, who played Mark Corey.
Yes. Now that, if you go onto YouTube, so if you go onto YouTube and you type in, let's go back here and I'll go back again, just so I got it. If you go to Mission to the Unknown, and type in Mission to the Unknown, recreation, right? And go to into YouTube. It be on the official Doctor Who channel.
That's the one I've got on my computer.
Yeah, it's on the actual site. They constructed it. They've done it exactly the way it was done in the 60s, and it was a way of teaching the students how to how television used to be made and how to make an episode of Doctor Who, because they literally followed the script word for word, line for line, didn't change a thing. And yeah, that's one worth doing as well. So that's a possibility for a future watch along. Because it's also as well as one I know very little of. I've seen it, but yeah, I don't know that much of it myself. But yeah, I was thinking, I was planning on going back to Hartnell because there's 3 seasons of Hartnell. I mean 4 if you.
Absolutely. If you want to do that, we'll do that.
Because and again, like I said, he doesn't get enough love, I don't think. I think that there's some things that I genuinely believe are things that I wish they would do more of today. Just as a scientific thing, just as as the nature of the character. We've pointed out previously how Pertwee, used to be a bit more forensic when it came to the examination of a problem. That's something that was inherent in Hartnell. That was, he would look at a problem and try to figure it out from a scientific standpoint. It's not. Sometimes they come up with hokey solutions. Of course they would, but I mean, it still had the idea of you can think your way out of this, as opposed to let's blow it up. Although that did happen also. Yes. So I mean that was my idea, was the fact that we go back to that instead. I mean, look, what is season 20? I think is Peter Davison, or 19. Yeah, season 19 is Castrovalva. Yeah, I mean, this is what I love with BritBox. I know I keep saying it, but I do love it. It's the fact that I've got everything on here. I can just click on one and I'm instantly into. Oh yeah, look, there's Castrovalva. So yeah, Fort of Doomsday. Kinder. Oh, I'm not so fond of Kinder. The Visitation. Oof.
That's one I was talking to Luke Ozer about when we was talking about episodes. And
yeah. The Visitation is. I mean, the costumes in Visitation don't do it any favours at all. The costumes really don't. Black Orchid. That's there. Earthshock. I've heard something about that one. Time Flight as well. Oof. That's a rough one as well. That's the problem with Time Flight is that Time Flight seems to me that it was more based on like something like Langoliers or something. It's got a Stephen King element about it.
Yeah, it has. But there's one good thing about Peter Davidson's certainly his first series. It's Janet Fielding. She was brilliant.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you got Arkham Infinity in season 2. Snake Dance. Oh God.
Very young Martin Clunes in that one.
Yeah. Mordrin Undead. That starts introducing. No, see, Mordrin Undead is where we sort of get into the idea that Time Lords don't necessarily have to look human. That's where people talk about how this is why I didn't have a problem with Jodie Whittaker becoming the Doctor, was because they'd already put out higher concepts out there that a Time Lord could regenerate and look like whatever. And
yeah, me either. I've got absolutely no problem with Jodie Whittaker whatsoever. My problem's with the writing and the false politics. Other than that, she's great. She's not a bad actress.
No, again, I've said it before, say it again. Season 12 is a much better season than season 11. And, in recent Who as well, it was... Season 12, for me, held up a hell of a lot better than some of the past. Season 10 was a high point, but it hadn't been... For me, it hadn't been that good since Matt Smith left. That's where it is. But yeah, I mean, like, these higher concepts were introduced much earlier on as well. So, Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. That's us done, I think, for this week. With Claws of Axos. I give it a 6.5. I think you give it a 6, Chris.
I did
I'm
indeed.
not sure if Lucosa rated it. I don't think Ian did. I will check the chat. No.
Luke Koza, let's skip Kinder.
Let's skip. Yeah.
No. Let's make him watch it. I'll send you a copy of that, Chris, just so you can watch it, mate.
But yeah, I won't be here next week, but we'll be here the week after. So have a good time. Take care, and we shall see you next week. Not next week, week after, for Colony in Space.
Just before we go, Luke Koza,
You give it a 5. You give it a 5. I can't fault that. I give it a 6.5 because for me it's just the Axons are really kick ass, and I think that they could be something that could actually come back and be a legit villain for the Doctor, and another thing for the Doctor's repertoire as well. You know, not just Daleks and Cybermen. Have Axons in there as well. You know, shake it up a little bit. But anyway, take care, and I shall see you for Colony in Space. Ta-da!
See you later.